My game crashed. What? What is that? Uh, huh. When you press the start streaming button before you should press the start streaming button. Yes, you should do the assignments that were due last week. Good time to talk to me. Class does not officially start for 10 minutes. So the most important thing to do immediately is going to be to the Discord and Twitch name assignment. You cannot get credit for lecture participation until you do that. So you can get credit for this week, like do the assignment for this week, but then also submit your name. That's how we verify who you are. What else was due? And then there was discussion for that you also missed, so reach out to your TA. There is extra credit for this course. There's a cosplay assignment, and if you check on Canvas, the week of identity, that is where you will find it. It's either next week or the week after. It's not due immediately. That's just where I listed the extra credit. So there is a world in which I would start playing right now, even though class hasn't started. But today, I literally need to see the very start of the game because that is what matches up to the lesson. So unfortunately, we just gotta chill and wait. So worried leopard. Why are you worried? Um, it'll a little bit depend on your discussion, but for in general, you answering discussion questions and participating in the conversations in class are what's going to do it. Oh, Zeb, that is awesome. It's such a good game. It's such a good game. And it gets so much flack for the combat system, but honestly, I think it does not deserve all that flack. I kind of wish I could play it with controller, but that is a personal preference that I just prefer controllers over keyboards. Hmm. It shouldn't add up to 110. If it adds up to 110, then I've made a mistake. Oh, oh, yeah. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Pipe. Um, Let me take a sip of coffee here before class starts. I so look, here's a small rant. I extremely dislike Canvas. I use it because it is mandated by the university. I think the way Canvas shows extra credit is very bad, uh, which is really strange to me because it's not like the idea of extra credit is novel, right? Like, I remember getting extra credit assignments in grade school, which was before y'all were born. Um, right, so this is not a new concept, and for some reason, Canvas has just completely left it as an afterthought. Um, right, so like this whole 100, 110% thing is ridiculous because it should just be 100 and the extra credit should just be added on top. Um, but here we are. Sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. Um, to get an A, you just need a, what is it? I'm literally checking my notes, 93 to 100. Um, and so it all still works out, right? It's not like if you get, like if you score 100%, that still is perfect. Like you don't need that extra 10%. That extra 10% is not accounted into the grade scale. Sure, we can talk about that for a couple minutes here. So that's a very big question. I'm going to start trying to answer, but if you can give me a more specific question, that would be helpful. So the first thing you should do is sign up for it. All of the TAs have some way, shape, or form that you had to sign up for it. I think some of them did it in person. Some of them had a link to a Google Doc. There's some way you do it. It is a group assignment. Um, how you do it is that your TAs 2 days ago went over the reading for this week. And I told them all to do it in a way so as to model what your discussion lead should look like. So you should do a summary of the reading, relate it to the game that was assigned for that week, um, and then you should have 2 to 3 discussion questions. The reason I say 2 to 3, by the way, like the real answer is you should have 3, is because if you have a question that's really a two-parter, then that counts for 2, right? Or if you have a very complex question with like a second part, that counts for 2. Um, and then the question should be designed so as to facilitate discussion, right? So you put out the question, somebody gives an answer, and then hopefully somebody else will have an answer or a different thought about it, um, or maybe you have a different thought about it, a different take about it, and so then you have a discussion, and you lead that discussion. So you're the one calling on people um, and facilitating that. Wow, we are coming in hot with the big questions here today. So how do we research the specific topic we choose for the discussion lead? Um, oh, that was for the discussion lead, not the final paper. Wow, I was about to answer for the final paper. Yeah, there's no need to do research. You are just using the readings from the course. Um, you should be playing those games before your discussion. So I'm going to go over real quick. Um, you will be score. I mean, it's group work. So you'll be scored together. If you have any issues, like a teammate's not getting back to you or is unresponsive, reach out to your TA ASAP um, to help you with that. So your workflow, and somebody asked me about this in the first lecture, and I'll answer this uh, real quick again, because I know a lot of people have enrolled between the last lecture and now. So the workflow in this class should be really that you're doing your homework the week before. So today we are talking about learning by design. You should have read the article and played the game Blood and Beans at some point before Monday. On Monday, you then have discussion, you discuss it, and then for lecture is the icing on this cake. So you are putting the ingredients in the bowl before Monday, that is the reading and the playing the game. You are taking all those ingredients, throwing it in a pan and baking it on Monday. That is your discussion, and you're going to talk about the game and the reading. And then on Wednesday, we are pulling the cake out of the oven and putting icing on top of it. And during lecture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to really go over a lot of the same concepts, but I'm going to highlight them in a larger game than what you were assigned, and kind of test to see that everybody is on the same page, that everybody understands, and clarify any things that are still lingering confusion from what you have already done. For those of you who are talking about how you just enrolled, you don't have a team, no due dates and whatnot, talk to your TA as soon as possible. The reason the discussion lead has no due date is because each group is going on a different week. So Blood and Beans was made by somebody. It was not made to be enjoyed. It was made by a colleague of mine who, when I was asking for recommendations for games, sent that to me, and it was made during a game jam. Okay, so it is 2:31, so we're going to start class in earnest now, which I am actually going to restart the game. So for the final paper, you do not have to use G's principles. You can, that is a choice that you can make, but you are choosing one of the topics from this semester. Those are listed out in the paper assignment if you want to go there and look. Just lost the game. Where is it? There it is. Yay. If you choose the week 2 topic, which would be the G's principles, it is really limited to 3. It would be like 2 minimum, 3 max, because I am looking for depth, not breadth. For the proposal, at a minimum, you need to be citing the game and the readings from that week, which, if you actually want to write a doable proposal, you have to, at minimum, go and skim the readings from whatever week it is, right? So for most of you, it's going to be some week that we have not covered already. But you have to kind of take a look at that so you know what you're doing. Yeah, Pipe, thank you. Depth over breadth. That is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. So now that I have the game going, is the volume okay? Sometimes I struggle with the game music over my talking. Volume is good. Okay, so for some of these paper questions that are coming up, to let people know that are just coming in, I happened to actually log in about 10 minutes early, so I was allowing some conversation, but we're going to get to lecture now. All these questions you have about the papers, the perfect place to do that would be in the Discord under homework help. Wow, sorry. I don't even know if my microphone picked that up. My phone just scared the crap out of me. Um, yeah, so the homework help channel is really where it's going to do it. I am going to talk a little bit about The Witcher in just a moment. What we're looking at right now is the opening cutscene for Witcher 1. This is the enhanced edition, not the original. What was enhanced, I don't know because I never saw the original. You cannot choose the games I play, well, mostly because I've already prepped the lessons. But if you have a game you would like to recommend, I will check it out. If I have time to incorporate it into the class, I will play it. Some of the games that I'm going to play later on are things that have been recommended to me in previous semesters, but I can't promise that. A couple of things. These are more announcements before we get to lecture proper. Email address. I did post this in the Discord, but I also wanted to put it out here in case anybody missed it. When you email me, please, 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 if you want a response, you need to tell me that you are in 277, you need to tell me your section number, and you need to tell me who your TA is. This is very important. I get so many emails, and I'm not picking on any one person, it happens all the time, but I get so many emails where somebody says, hey, I'm in your game class, and I have this question, and it's a very vague question, and all my classes are game classes, right? And when I say vague question, it'll be something like, and I'm really confused on the homework for next week. Well, all my classes are game classes, and they probably all have homework next week, so now I have no idea what you're talking about. So you have to do that to me. You also have to tell me your section number and your TA, because if you ask something like, I don't know where I'm supposed to meet on Monday. I don't know either. Like, there's multiple classrooms, Zoom links, whatever. Like, you have to tell me what's going on. I don't recommend changing your screen name during the semester, but if you do, you have to let your TA know or you will stop getting credit. The other thing, the next thing I'm going to mention here is switching sections in the summer session. So I've gotten probably about 15 to 20 requests to switch sections. For the vast majority of you, that is not happening. The class is full and there is a hard cap at 20 students per section. If you can't make lecture or you can't make discussion section, then I highly recommend you drop this class and take it over the summer. Let me tell you, over the summer, it's 8 weeks, it is condensed, it is all asynchronous. You can do it in your own time. Now, there are certain things that have to be done each week, so it's not like you can do the entire class in 2 days, but morning, night, whatever, you can work it around your job, etc. It is all asynchronous. I am still available and your TAs are still available via Discord, so you can still talk to people, but you can really do it on your own time. So summer, also there's no enrollment cap on summer, so you can get in. 100% you can get in. So yeah, summer. I also want to mention my office hours. Nobody has asked this yet, but people in the past have always asked me, how do my office hours work? Because I say that they're on Discord. So I will be available and sitting at my desk from 10:30 to 12:30. I mean, to be honest, I'm sitting at my desk more than that. But during those times, I have designated that as times to answer your questions. specifically for if you want to have a conversation. So what you do is send me a direct message, which you can do on Discord. You find my name. It's always going to be up toward the top because I'm the server owner. Right click it and you can send a direct message and just say, hey, Dr. Malone, I'd like to talk. And I will start a voice chat with you so that we can talk. Now, the only time I'm ever going to maybe make you wait a minute is if I am already on a call with somebody else. But otherwise, that is my time to have meetings with you, and that's how you do it. The idea behind office hours is for it to just be walk-in, so I generally don't like to make appointments, but if there's some reason to, we can make appointments during that time. The last thing I want to say is a thank you to the nice and participatory community members in Discord so far. So there's already been some discussion about different games. People have given out game recommendations. Somebody this weekend offered to stream Blood and Beans for the Mac users that were having problems. And I want to say thank you to those students for helping out their classmates and making this a vibrant learning community. The opening of this game is really long, which is also why I started it and have just kind of let it go while I had the announcements. The announcements aren't relevant to topics for today. Nishu, you are misunderstanding what we mean by manipulation. We are not talking about manipulating the other person online. We are talking about manipulating the character in the game. I have played this, Nora, yes. I have played this game all the way through and Witcher 2, and I am more than halfway done with Witcher 3 right now. uh, all right. Oh, one last announcement. So for the participation credit for today, I'm just going to go over that again since this is the first time we are doing it. I will not go over this every single week. In fact, most weeks I will not have this many announcements, but we're early in the semester. So I have a list of notes over here. I'm going to be sending out 2 discussion questions. I will announce when they are discussion. Ooh, no, notebook just fell over. I will announce here's for credit, and I will have a discussion question. After a discussion question, I will often be quiet for a while, uh, or I might talk a little bit about gameplay, not really class topics. And that is because there's a little delay between me speaking, and also I assume that everybody needs a minute to hear my question, process my question, come up with an answer, and type the answer into the chat. Once you have answered my discussion question, you need to take a screenshot of it, go over to Canvas, and you will submit the screenshot. Go to the lecture 1 assignment, and there is details for how to get a screenshot and what it should look like. You also have to do, in mobile, I do not know how to enable timestamps in Twitch on mobile. Does anybody know that answer? Can somebody help out Magnova? Oh, La Sunday. Thank you. I am glad that you enjoyed it. Also, it's funny that you got the notification. This is week 2. Um, that is awesome. Thank you. Welcome back. You can hang if you want. Um, uh, right. So that's the main way most of you will get credit for discussion in this class. The other thing you can do is you can ask a meaningful question about the reading and the game that I'm playing. Now, what do I mean by meaningful? The question really needs to demonstrate that you did the reading and that you are in some way connecting it with this game that I'm playing. Um, uh, what was I saying? Is the circle required? It's not. Yeah, talk to your TA about that. I'm hesitating because sometimes people take a screenshot in such a way that the message is kind of blurry. You can also do an arrow, but you need some way to show what it is. Um, so as an example, it's just Kyle. I'm just going to use your thing for this. Does not count for a meaningful question. The question is, I was curious about your thoughts on the reading about fish tanks and sandboxes and what you think separates them from one another. So this doesn't really demonstrate that it's just Kyle read the article. And I am really hoping I am not embarrassing you right now, Kyle, because I'm not trying to. Um, and it's also not relating to Witcher right now at all. Now, once somebody asks a meaningful question, one that should count for credit, um, then if you answer it, that is another way to get credit. So that's 3 different ways that you can get credit. Now, as an example, and because I'm going to say this question for this week, this is not going to count. If It's Just Kyle had asked in a few minutes from now, after seeing some of it, wow, do you think what you are doing right now is a fish tank or a sandbox? Because I think it's a sandbox for XYZ reasons, but I'm not sure it could be a fish tank for ABC reasons. That would be a wonderful, fabulous question. Ooh, my game just went away again. Don't crash, don't crash. Thank you. Can we ask a general question about the core syllabus stuff? Does that count as a question? Absolutely not. Not even close. It has to be on topic. Um, okay, Domtagia. Yeah, other way around. Thanks for the quote, Stoiminator. I will speak my questions out loud. And then what I will often do is ask somebody or maybe one of the TAs or anybody to try to type it in for me. That'd be very helpful. Okay, so I think we have a good handle on things. Um, I am going to start the game. Now, I have played this game multiple times. Um, so it should not be that difficult, but we'll see. I'm also a little tired today. You ever have one of those days where like you're really tired, you couldn't wake up, so you just drink a ton of caffeine, and now you're just a little wired? Um, Yeah, so the reason I don't type them out is because this method of teaching, it actually takes quite a bit of practice, because I need to focus on what is being said in chat. I need to focus on the game, and I also need to be focusing on my notes to make sure that I'm getting all of the learning objectives for this lecture done. You do need timestamps. Um, you can get timestamps by hitting the chat settings button, and you go to chat appearance, and then if you scroll down to almost the bottom, it'll say timestamp for new messages, and you just click that little toggle, and then they'll come up. And what you just saw was me doing it myself on my screen. Now, oh, I hate this part. It makes me motion sickness. For the discussion questions, another thing that I will do, just to warn you all, is at a certain point I will cut it off. And I will reference a timestamp based on my chat, which in theory should be the same as your chat. So I'll say something like, and this discussion is going to be cut off at timestamp 248. In which case anything that comes in after that is not going to count. The reason for that is because at some point we need to move on. And also at some point I will answer the question, at which point it's no longer fair for people to answer after that. Someone previously had asked, and I did see this question, but I was waiting for it to be relevant, what if you have an answer that's similar to somebody else's? Well, there's a very good chance that your answer will be similar to somebody else's, because if multiple people have the correct answer, they're all going to be similarly correct, right? But you can't copy and paste.
I remember nothing.
We'll speak soon enough.
We have, over the semesters, caught quite a few people who have copied and pasted. Here's the deal. Will you get away with it sometimes? I mean, maybe. But if you ever do it and you're caught, you're getting a 0, and now you're flagged, and we will always look to see if you have copy pasted. The thing is it becomes really obvious because even though chat is going to go by really quickly, it just really sticks out when somebody has a big long paragraph and then somebody else has the exact same big long paragraph. In the beginning when you selected your character, so I didn't select a character. There is no character selection in this game. What you saw is me selecting the story mode. Hold on.
We're home. Leo, get Triss.
Sorry, that was super weird because I heard something downstairs and I'm literally home alone. Yeah, so it's like you're basically choosing either story mode or hard mode. The only character you can play is Geralt.
Wrong, you missed the parry. I keep repeating this. Pirouette always follows.
Somebody said they noticed some people have already started posting questions about the articles. So you will also notice that some of them don't count because they're not in, they don't meet the requirements.
Remember anything?
So today what I'm going to use is the Witcher tutorial to highlight some of G's principles. Now to start, and I know, hopefully chat while I'm talking can figure out the timestamp thing. If not, I'll put some screenshots up in Discord later. So G didn't make up any of these. These were all tried and true methods that have been used, but G did a fantastic way of laying them out in a very understandable way, which is why I use his book. So he divides the 13 principles into 3 different categories, and that's empowered learners, problem solving, and understanding.
Take a rest. What do you think, Geralt?
You can just think of them in that way if that works for you. One way that helps me to really think about these is that these are about agency, challenge, and processing. So empowered learners, the 4 principles that are under that topic are co-design, customize, identity, and manipulation and distributed knowledge. And these are all about ways in which a player is given agency. Do we all know what I mean about agency? We'll talk about it more later. When we have our guest speaker, Dr. Malaby, but it basically means anything the player can do. Any choice they can make, any customization they can make, the actual play, that's all agency, right? Right now there's no agency, there's just a movie playing at me, giving me backstory, right? To answer someone's question, there's actually very little customization in this game, but there is some. So now we're starting the tutorial. I want to finish this thought before the tutorial starts though. problem solving, the reason I call it challenge is because problem solving is all about the ways in which the game challenges the player. So this is all about the puzzles, the difficulty, the ways in which the player is challenged. And the last one, which is understanding, I suppose processing is really just another word for that, but the understanding is the two ways in which the player processes the information that they have gotten and therefore understands the game. And so these are the three categories. I am not going to go through all of them because, like when I told some people earlier in lecture, depth, not breadth. And I cannot go into all of these in depth because we only have 70 minutes or 75. Okay, wow. So the first thing I need to do is get a sword. It told me to get a sword. This is under the principle of, yeah, you don't need a second, it's fine. You ever hear the expression, you have to learn to crawl before you can walk? Or baby steps? This game relies a lot on fighting, but if I don't have a weapon, I can't do it. So the first thing the game teaches me is how to pick up a sword. Okay, now it's going to make an attempt on teaching me how to fight. That guy looks like he broke his back. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint right now. The first discussion question is going to go over or include the order in which I am learning things here. So I already pointed out, right, I learned how to move, I learned how to pick up a sword, then I learned how to swing the sword. So note that and kind of pay attention to the next couple of things I learned. In the meantime, the first one I really want to talk about is identity, and ironically, or coincidentally, no, not ironically, coincidentally, I do see that a lot of people have been asking about identity already in the chat. So let's get to it. There are different ways in which identity works in games. You identify with a character, an avatar, or real life. There are ways in, not ways, there are options like in an MMO. A lot of times you make your own avatar, you choose different classes and whatnot. And that's really a blank slate character, right? So you make all these decisions on what the identity of that character is going to be. This game is different. This game is you have an identity. You are Geralt. Geralt has a backstory. So you are choosing to embody this identity, which is being handed to you. i.e., Geralt is a fully developed character. And how identity plays in as an engagement factor is, in theory, the player wants to identify with Geralt, right? Which makes sense. Geralt's cool, he's good looking, he's strong, he's tough. There's all sorts of things that people could see as beneficial qualities or positive qualities. There's also a lot not positive qualities, but you know, we'll get there.
Get to it.
Like anyone who knows the Witcher stories knows that Geralt's a very lonely man also.
The professor is wanted in Redania, Temeria, and Kedwin. A real maggot. I don't recognize the sorcerer.
Marigold, I'm interested in whether you can disarm Savola. The rest is witch's work.
I'll try.
They're coming. The Frightener is very dangerous, but it's...
Yeah, so that is an excellent question. CX, I guess I'll call you. The question is, even if the character is fully developed, would having multiple endings be considered identity? So I would say yes. I think that answer kind of depends on how you look at it, but let me explain.
I'll figure something out.
There is an expression that people say, and that is, you are what you do.
Geralt,
You are not
follow
what you
the
think.
wall and break through to the tower where there's
People
a
have many
passage
thoughts, they
to
have
the
many
upper courtyard.
emotions, but who
And
they are
then,
really depends on
they're
how they
just
deal with them and
bandits,
how they
though
choose to
one
act on
might be
them, right?
infamous.
So
We
there are
must
multiple
open the
endings,
gate.
and
We'll
you
do
as a
it.
player make
Good luck, Wolf.
choices about what kind of person you want to be, right? So, oh, that was weird. And that is a part of your identity, right? So if you are a person who within the game tries to avoid fighting, which you can't do completely, like there is, I'm 99% sure there's no possibility of a, am I on the wrong, of a passive run?
I'll make you squeal.
But those different choices then become the identity of what Geralt is doing. I'm debating making a reference to later in the game. Okay, if you really, really hate spoilers, just turn off your speakers for 30 seconds. So at one point in this franchise, you have the choice to help either the elves or the humans. And I would say that's a choice that has a lot to do with identity, because you are then choosing who you think the good guy is, who you think you should help in this battle. And so that is my answer to you, CX. I don't remember these fights taking as long.
Mess with me and die.
So yeah, so here identity is so important that we are going to talk about it in its own topic. I can't remember if it's next week or the week after, but very soon. And then we're going to talk about the projective identity and whatnot that a couple people have mentioned. But I'm going to leave that for now because it is getting a whole nother week. I will say this though, identity is very important to learning, and again, we'll talk about this more later, but if you can see yourself doing a thing, you are more likely to be able to learn the thing. This is also why representation is very important. But that again is also getting its own week later on.
I'll make you squeal.
So the next thing I want to talk about is well-ordered problems, and in about 60 seconds I am going to get to the first discussion question of the day. Would you stop hitting me in the back? Seriously, it's annoying.
You'll regret the day you were born.
So, well-ordered problems. This principle is basically a way of saying that problems need to be scaffolded, which is the way in other literature, depending on your background, you might have heard it in that way. Dang, I forgot where I'm supposed to be going. I think up. And basically this means that you need to learn things in the proper order to your ability, basically, right? So you learn to walk before you crawl. I learned to pick up the sword before I learned to swing it. And I'm doing all of this and I'm not getting a boss fight, right? Like the game does not start with a boss fight because it'd be way too hard. I wouldn't know what I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Why am I not hitting this guy? This is weird. So, I'm actually hesitating briefly because I want to get to a different part of the game before I get to this question. So I haven't played Hogwarts Legacy, so I'm not sure. But these principles can be applied to most games. Because here's the thing, like, nobody is born knowing how to play video games. These are things you have to learn. And so a game has to teach you how to play. Active pause. Okay, so I actually tried doing that earlier because I knew it was a thing, and it didn't work. So we've gotten a couple of cutscenes up here. Strong style is Z, and fast style is X. Okay. All right, I think we've gotten enough tutorials up to answer this question. So here we are. The question for credit is this. How has the order of what I have learned so far been indicative of the well-ordered principles, the well-ordered problem principle? I will repeat that. How has the order of what I have learned so far been indicative of the well-ordered problems principle? I'm running now, fool. Okay, so while people are answering again, I'm going to not lecture because I want to give everyone a chance to focus on, but I will comment a little bit on the game just so that there's not an awkward silence.
No way through here. Follow me. Back to Savola.
I always wish my coffee mug was bigger than it is. Oh, hello. Oh wait, I didn't want to go up. I wanted to go down. Oops. Oh,
I'll slay you like a dog.
oh will you now? I don't think so. So question is still open. Without answering, I'm going to point out that the way in which the first couple of people have answered the question is a perfect way to answer these questions.
You'll regret the day you were born.
So to kind of point it out, some of the earlier answers gave specific examples. Yikes.
Take that! You dare challenge the Salamandra?
Where are you? There you go. Okay. Change to X.
Take that!
I thought there was something over here I had to do. It's over here.
I'll slay you like a dog!
Using objects. Left click on the winch to open the gate. All right, I'm gonna give this 1 more minute and then cut it off. So at 3:12 it will cut off.
Damn it, Geralt. It's a miracle you're alive.
You could have told me about the stairs.
Lambert and Eskel were supposed to fix them yesterday.
We're not masons. No matter. The professor and the other mage must be hiding in the keep.
Face the truth, Witchers. They're here to rob you.
Triss, child, we have nothing of value. Some good steel snow fox pelts.
I mean the laboratory and you know it. Someone wants your famed mutagens.
You're jumping to conclusions. Triss may be right. We need to find out what they want.
One thing at a time. We shouldn't turn our backs on a strong mage
So
leading a
as we
The bandits in the lab.
right as usual, Triss.
as we close
Geralt,
off
you've dealt
that,
with mages.
I didn't see any
Find out
answers
what
that
this
were
one
that were
wants.
wrong,
We
so I don't
know
feel
what
like I
gotta
need
do.
to
Just
correct
some
anything.
sort.
But most of
No
you
one
got
will be
it.
sorry if some of them lose
I
their
learned to pick up a
heads.
sword, then I learned to
No
swing the
management.
sword. Then
Just
we went
remember,
to more
Leo's
complicated
with you.
fighting, and
I
people
can
pointed out that I
handle
learned
this.
to
We'll
press
see what's
Z
happening inside
for a
and
strong
head back.
attack or X
Take
for a
these
light
potions
attack.
just in case. Drink the Thunderbolt now and keep
So that's what I was
smoking
talking
when
about
you
when I
need
was
it.
saying,
I'll be able to tell you
detailed,
everything
right?
now.
So some of the answers
We'll
were
make sure no
were a
one
little more
else gets
vague.
inside.
Um,
Triss, stay
but
with
then
us
some of
in case
them
of
did what
alerts
I
any
what I
more
asked, and you
enemies.
connected to the game, and you specifically said those things that I learned. Now I have an inventory. Woo! So one of the problems I have with all games while lecturing is that sometimes I don't know where to go because I talk over the dialogue. All right, so I also want to point out that a lot of G's principles are actually interconnected. So another thing that you may or may not have noticed is that in addition to all of those being well-ordered problems, it was also information on demand. So they were well-ordered problems in the fact that I got some easier enemies that required a light attack before I got some harder enemies. They're harder because they hit faster.
So what do these potions
Or
do?
they hit harder, so I take more damage. So that's the well-ordered problems part. The information on demand is they didn't tell me up front, oh, here's all the buttons you need for fighting. No. They gave me, here's how you swing your sword. Okay, fine. I got an enemy. Press X to do light attack. Okay, fine. And then they waited until I got a heavy enemy before giving me the heavy attack, right? And so then they gave me, oh, now do Z for the heavy attack. Sorry. And so you see well-ordered problems and information on demand going hand in hand. Wait, hold on. Did somebody ask about uploading multiple screenshots? No, you should only be uploading one screenshot. I am not, absolutely not going to ask the TAs to swim through multiple screenshots and try to decide which one you want them to grade.
Geralt, wait!
What?
Bandits inside. Drink the Thunderbolt potion Vesemir gave you.
Oh, okay. So, no, Luke, I am going to address that question right away. Where'd my... I lost my cursor.
I've heard all of Dandelion's ballads about you. Lambert tells me I'll never be as fast as a real Witcher. I managed to aid him during training today.
There are 200 students enrolled in this class, and you are all obligated to talk and ask questions and answer questions. And it would be physically impossible for me to address every single question and every single answer and every single comment because we only have 75 minutes. So if I do not address a question or a comment or anything else, one, please don't be offended. And two, that is not indicative of anything at all. I may not address it because I missed it. Maybe I didn't address it because I want to stay on topic. So sometimes people will even ask like really good questions that it's not that I don't like them or anything. It's that just, again, we have 75 minutes and sometimes I just have to pick and choose what we're going to talk about in any one given day. If you ever ask a question that you have a real burning desire to actually discuss and I don't get to it during lecture, please feel free to post it in the Discord and I will get back to you later. Whether or not I get back to you immediately after class will kind of depend on if I have any meetings going on immediately after class. I like to answer questions immediately after class if I can, but also meetings are a thing that happen. So, where, guys, where's... Yes, I think that is true. The other thing I was going to say is I know somebody had made references to fish tanks and sandboxes earlier, and I'm just going to tell this story because it is relevant to that. So this is loot. Wait, why am I looting? I'm not even going to finish this game. This tutorial is a sandbox. A sandbox is a controlled area. Sorry.
Follow me.
This is a fish tank, not a sandbox. Both of them are enclosed, smaller versions of the world as a whole, but a sandbox is a safe place where you're not going to die and it's not going to matter because you're just learning. A fish tank is a smaller version, but it is a dangerous version. I could die here. And I am mentioning that because I don't remember how long ago it was, but I was teaching this class, playing this game, and I straight up died during the tutorial while we were talking about the difference between sandboxes and fish tanks. And it was kind of perfect because that then highlighted why this was a fish tank and not a sandbox.
Mutagens ready for teleportation in 15 minutes. Our witches shan't trouble us.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing about Minecraft. So when we're talking about learning, there's a thing called a sandbox, which is a safe place where you can learn how to play. The word sandbox can also refer to a type of game in which you build things and really create. It's very creative, and you mold the environment, right? So Minecraft is a sandbox game. You can play in what is effectively a sandbox mode by going into creative mode, where you can't die. Or if you, I think, or maybe if you do die, it doesn't matter. But in Minecraft survival mode, it would be a fish tank because you can die. So I am a mistake. I am a mistake? Oh my goodness. Correct. Minecraft is a sandbox game, but it would be considered a fish tank. Sims is, so again, sandbox or fish tank, what G is talking about is how you are learning. How do I get there again? I forgot. How you are learning. As a game, Sims is also a sandbox game. The Sims tutorial, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember now. It's been so long. I don't remember. Okay, I know I'm supposed to use ARN to get through here. Also, by the way, there will be one more discussion question, and it's going to come as soon as I get into the next area. Woo, quest updated.
We'll see in a minute.
I knew it would work.
Let's get back before Lambert kills the Frightener himself.
Yes, so you only have to do one of the discussion questions. The reason I will always put out at minimum 2, sometimes I'll put out 3, is because what if you miss the first one, or you type it in too slow, or what if you just didn't know the answer? I want to make sure you have at minimum 2 opportunities to answer a question, but you only have to answer one.
I think we should protect the lab above all.
Don't panic, Marigold. We know you'd like to see our witch's secrets.
Vesemir, if that idiot doesn't...
So I also want to say that the fish tank versus sandbox thing, it doesn't necessarily have to be you die. Some games there's no death, or the death doesn't mean much because you just come right back. But it could be that you are penalized in some other way. So like if you lose a bunch of gold or currency, or if your Pokemon runs away, you know, because you don't take care of it. These are all other ways. Like the penalty doesn't necessarily have to be you die. I tend to use the example of you die because it's a very common penalty, and my favorite type of game is RPGs. And so that is the penalty for the games that I play, for the most part, but it doesn't have to be that. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go to the lab.
Me too.
It's decided then.
because
Esther
I
and
think it is
Lambert
going to
will
be
stay with
a
me.
good
Savona just
place
cast a spell. Something's happening.
for the next Discord question. So the last of the
The ground is
principles
shaking. Feel it?
They're breaking through.
that I want to talk about is skills as strategies. Skills as strategies. Um, so what does it mean? So a strategy is the way in which you are going to defeat a boss, right? And I'm about to come up to my first little boss fight here.
Defend the laboratory.
And I have been given a set of skills, right? And so
This could be a hard fight,
those
Geralt. Take this
skills
potion. We
I
just
can
call it
use to
Atomic
create a
Mass. It
strategy
restores
of
endurance.
how I
Very
will
useful when
defeat
fighting mages.
this
Thanks.
boss.
Let's go.
Now, because this is a boss fight coming up, I'm going to put out the question. I'm going to let you know, though, that you're going to have to wait for the boss fight to start in order to be able to adequately answer it, right? So the question is going to be, how is what I've learned so far an example of skills as strategies? Now, you can't just list what I've learned so far. Once I start the boss fight, you're going to have to see how it is that I kill that boss. Then think about the skills I've learned and then explain which of those skills did what for me. Now, there is a chance I will die in this fight, in which case your answer, and this would be legit, could be, well, the skills Dr. Malone should have used were these, because then she wouldn't have died. Okay? That's a legit answer. All right, let's go. What did she just gave me a tawny owl, didn't she?
We can't afford to lose any more time.
Excuse me for trying to talk to you, lady. So this is the boss fight. This is the guy that I'm about to fight. And so you can see what I do to be successful or not.
A bluff. He's exhausted from teleportation. Magic light is about all he can muster.
Go. We'll deal with him and join you at the barrier.
Underestimating an opponent. Now the energy of my people will make me stronger.
So because of this, I'm going to talk aloud a little bit about what I'm doing. So I'm going to, whoa. Okay. So I just right clicked on him, which is Ard. And now I am going to attempt to kill these guys. I'm using the X for quick attack because they don't really have heavy weapons, and I'm assuming that's going to be okay. And they all died, and we come back to him, and he looks like a big boy, so I'm going to Ard him. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He disappeared. And I'm going to switch to heavy attack for this guy. That seems like the right answer. He's not taking any damage. That's not great. I'm going to go into my inventory and take this swallow. All right, I am definitely missing something here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should not Z this up. Alright, I'm going to switch to a light quick attack. We'll see what happens. Oh, look at that! He actually took some damage. Alright. So I'm going to use Art again to knock him down. And he disappeared.
Nobody messes with Salamandra. Nobody!
So his hit bar is the circle below, right? So when I switched from strong to light attack, that did matter. I feel like using Ard should matter more than it is.
Nobody messes with Salamandra. Nobody!
So, am I right to assume that everyone just already got their credit in? Because I see nobody is answering the second question. Maybe my timing on that's just off. That could be. At least I'm not dying. Oh, that could be it. Yeah, you can answer while I'm fighting. You just had to wait for it to start because the answer is in what I'm doing. But you could also just wait until I'm done. Assuming that I actually beat this boss before the end of class. Oh! Okay, so this is the point at which if you have a light stomach, you don't want to watch. Coup de grace, you've just stunned your opponent. Left click to finish him off. The way in which they animate these is pretty... Woo!
Are you hurt? Did he get you?
Nah. But if those were magic lights, I'd hate to face a truly powerful sorcerer.
I wanted to help, but I couldn't break through that strange
Thanks.
circle.
Savola's eating dirt. That's what matters.
We need to help Triss.
Let's go.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so what I'm gonna actually do is, let me pause here real quick. So I'm gonna just point out, Edenator, this was a great answer. As this boss fight was also long-lasting, the player remembered the importance of endurance. Knowing different skills and strategies as you fight different bosses is important because it means if one thing doesn't work, you try something else. Literally talking about what I did. For example, when the strong attacks weren't working on the bald guy, who is both bald and bad, the learner switched to light attacks, which had previously been learned and worked. The learner's able to determine in the boss fight what was important and what was not important, i.e. strategize about which skills I needed to use and not use. Do you loot enemies in Witcher? You do. I'm not looting a lot of bodies right now because I'm not going to continue playing after this class. Like I've already played through this game, right? So I'm not there's no point in me looting.
They're ransacking the laboratory. The other
But if I was playing through this right now, I would be looting everything. You always loot the bodies. There's valuable stuff to be found. Yeah, so likewise, I'm not gonna bother to level up my character. Okay, let's see. We talked about fish tanks. We talked about sandboxes already. Um, so we actually, just real quick, I know we talked about it already, but in
I
final
found it. We
papers,
have what we
very
came
often
for.
fish tanks and sandboxes are things that people get confused. So are there any questions on that? Anybody need any like clarification on those topics? So OkaFast, is there a
Professor,
way to go
deal with
behind
those
the
witches.
500 character limit? There is not. So what you, if you really, really feel the need to go beyond, what you can do is you can type in a bunch and then you can reply to
I hear
yourself and
witches
then
can
we know
parry
those go
bolts
together.
in flight.
But in general, you really need to be succinct and answer the question in the 500 characters. Um, So, and also when I talk about being succinct, for example, this isn't a paper, right? This isn't formal writing. So
Leo,
your answer
stop!
just needs to be understandable. But if you are getting it out, um, and maybe some of your
Ah,
sentences aren't completely complete,
another
um,
fairy tale.
right? So one way to get by that. So the answer that I read out before, it referred to me as the learner. You could use less characters by just saying,
What happened?
then,
Smashed ribs, punctured
you know,
lung. He's
Anthro
dying.
did
Needs one
XYZ
drop
instead of
of that
saying the
concoction.
learner did XYZ, or the prof, which is also less
Hang
characters
on,
than
Leo.
saying um,
It was here.
that. Or on Twitch, a lot of
I
times people
can't
will just call
find it.
me GA or Prof
Vesemir.
GA. You could say that. And
Leo is
again,
dead.
those are ways that you can really shorten the characters to get more information into it.
How did this happen?
Badger's
I
question,
attacked the
G stated that
professor.
a sandbox is
I
where risks
was
and dangers
late.
are greatly
It's not your
mitigated and
fault,
is a
Geralt.
place where
We're all
things
to
can't go
blame.
too wrong too
Chris
quickly
barely
or
made
perhaps
it
even at
fighting
all.
for us.
To me, this sounds
These
like
are
risks are
bad
mitigated.
times
However,
for
there's still a
witches.
small potential for
And something
danger.
tells me
Or
it'll only
is it
get
the case that
worse.
sandboxes
Is
are
it
completely
safer now?
risk-free? So,
Relatively. Some stragglers
that
are
kind of
there, but we'll
depends on the
deal with them
game.
later. You look tired.
Most of the
I'd
sandboxes
like you
I
to
can think
rest.
of,
I'll keep
they
watch until
are
you leave his
completely
body.
risk-free. Um, but that's not necessarily but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes they are just mitigated, or it's very, very small. Like I have been in sandboxes where if I'm learning how to fight, I will take damage. So technically that is some risk. Um, but like there's no chance of dying or there's no chance of losing, really. The game is just showing you that when you get punched, you do get damage. And so that would be an example of the risk is mitigated, but there's still that small potential. Um, yeah, you could absolutely. Cycles of expertise. That's a great thing to bring up here, Frost Dragonheart. We, like I said, all of these principles really interconnect in such a way that you can't really say, oh, this one is here, but none of the other ones are here.
I'll find you later.
Um, and yeah, this is absolutely cycles of expertise. Um, I'm not sure that I would say that the boss fight ended that cycle, right? So I practiced a bunch of light attacks or quick attacks, they're called. I practiced a bunch of quick attacks, and then I also practiced a bunch of the heavy attacks, and that was the cycle, right? So I learned those really well, and then the boss kind of ended that cycle. And then I will go on and practice them more, and I will practice additional fighting techniques, and I'll practice, 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 and then the boss fight is like the final exam. Okay, I have beat this, and then I will start the next thing. Oops. I should. That's not what I meant to do. Wow, resume game. Uh,
Yes?
Oh, wow. Yeah, this doesn't matter. What time is it now? Oh, okay. What do you mean by isometric RPG games? I am finding, and I'm sure that this is an age thing, that games are being, do I just close and I meditate? Divided up into more and more specific categories is what I'm going for here. Oh, where the perspective of the camera is top down. Right. I have dabbled in some. Um, it's not my favorite perspective. I like the over the shoulder. Um, I find it easier to immerse myself in the game when it's over the shoulder. Um, I know a lot of people actually like first person perspective because they find that the most immersive. Um, wow, that is not what I wanted to do. Speaking of first person perspective. But I actually get motion sickness at it, so I think for me the over the shoulder is the best one. Um, but I can also I can intellectually understand the um, the appeal of that. Zoom game. Okay, I'm literally what did I do? Yeah, so Souls games are a little different. Um, yeah, sometimes Witcher 1 does just take a crap. It actually crashed before class started. So I think this is, I mean, we only have 2 more minutes in class, so I'm just gonna give up on it right there. It's an old game. So Souls games are a little different than what I've been talking about. Not that they don't follow the same thing, but you get your cycles of expertise in a different way, right? So you come up to a boss fight and you have a few skills, but you really die your way through. So you do a repetitive fight of a boss over and over again, and you learn it there. Now, you also will do that to some extent in other games or in Witcher, which is not really the same, but you might die a couple of times to a boss before you see that attack pattern, right, and then you're able to defeat it. But I feel like Souls just takes it to like a whole new level. Are there any other questions in the last minute of class here? Um, we covered everything. Looks like everybody got credit, so I'm good to go here. Also, the game has died, so it's not like I can keep playing. If there's nothing else, class is officially over, have a good day. I will see you all next week. Um, Next week we are, what are we doing? I'm gonna check the schedule real quick. Next week we're doing, oh yeah, we're doing identity, right? So that is where we're gonna talk more about G, a little bit about representation and why identity is so important. Um, there is no midterm, so you are mistaken. There are no tests in this class. I don't like tests. I don't think they are pedagogically sound. But that just means that your final paper is super important because that is instead of your test. I am also seeing, in case anyone is actually still listening, that the extra credit is listed under the week 3. So there is a identity and cosplay extra credit for you. Do, do, do. All right. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I am going to take off. I'll see you all next week. Thank you for a very great conversation. I am looking forward to seeing how this class goes. It is actually usually my favorite class out of all the ones I teach. All right. Bye.